An internship can literally make or break a career. But way too often, whether you get real hands-on experience or just end up on a coffee run, well, it feels like a total roll of the dice. But what if it didn't have to be? What if there was a way to turn that gamble into a guaranteed launch pad for your career? Well, today we're exploring the blueprint to do just that. Let's get into it.
And this is the question, right? It's the one every single student asks themselves. Is this thing going to be a genuine learning experience that sets me up for success, or am I just going to be doing busy work for a few months? The quality of internships can be so wildly inconsistent, and that's a huge problem because these placements are absolutely crucial for your early career. This slide just lays it out perfectly. On the one hand, you've got experience by chance. You know the deal. Unclear goals, zero support, and a whole lot of busy work. But on the other hand, you have experience by design. Intentional, mentored, and actually making an impact. That massive gap between the two, yeah, that's what we're calling the internship gamble.
So here's the big idea. What if we could just eliminate that gamble entirely? What if a high-quality, career-shaping work experience wasn't some lucky break, but something that could be intentionally designed, structured, and guaranteed for every single student?
Well, it turns out there's a formal name for this whole approach. It's called Work-Integrated Learning, or WIL for short. And there are a few keywords here that are absolutely crucial. Within a curriculum, in partnership, authentic activities, and formally assessed. So you see, this isn't just some optional extra. It's meant to be a core part of the entire educational journey.
And the best part is, this isn't just some theory. There's a real-world blueprint for it. We're going to dig into a framework that was developed by an incredible partnership of Australian universities. We're talking QUT, RMIT, and the University of Sydney that gives us a model for how to get this right every single time.
Okay, so what does this blueprint actually look like? Well, it's built on 4 key pillars that all work together to create a super solid foundation for every student's experience. All right, here they are: the student experience, curriculum design, institutional requirements, and stakeholder engagement. Each one has its own guiding principle. You can already start to see how this creates this holistic system where the student's journey is supported, the learning is intentional, the university has its act together, and most importantly, everyone involved is actually working together.
First up, let's zoom in on what is, let's be honest, probably the most important piece of this whole puzzle, the student experience itself.
This is all about setting students up to succeed from day one. It starts with student readiness. I mean, you can't just throw someone in the deep end, right? A great example is how the University of Sydney gives pharmacy students a readiness for practice quiz to make sure they've got the skills they need before they even start. It also means making sure the environment is safe and supportive. And finally, the learning has to be scaffolded. Basically, you start with simple tasks and slowly build up to the more complex real-world challenges.
So, having a great student experience is vital, but it also has to actually connect to what they're studying. And that brings us right to our second pillar, curriculum design.
This is where the learning part of work-integrated learning really starts to shine. These experiences need to be embedded, woven right into the degree, not just a one-off thing. The assessments have to be authentic, meaning they reflect the kind of work students will actually be doing in their careers. And this last one is so important. It has to be inclusive and equitable. For example, QUT offers Equity WIL bursaries to help students facing financial hardship, making sure these opportunities are open to everyone.
Okay, now for the behind-the-scenes stuff. Pillar 3 covers all the essential, nitty-gritty infrastructure and processes the university needs to have in place to make all this happen smoothly and safely.
Think of this as the foundation that everything else is built on. It means having clear, shared policies across the entire university. It demands really solid risk management for everything from legal stuff to student safety. And it needs effective systems to manage the whole shebang. A fantastic example is QUT's In-Place system, which is a platform they use to manage all their student placements and data.
And that brings us to our fourth and final pillar, which is all about recognizing that this is not a solo mission. A truly great WIL experience has to be a real partnership.
This is the pillar that connects everyone, the university, the student, and the industry partner. And we're not just talking about a handshake here. This is an active partnership where employers might actually help design the curriculum. It involves practical stuff, sure, like site reviews to make sure workplaces are safe. But more importantly, it's about building long-term, sustainable relationships that fuel the entire system.
So, we've got our 4 pillars. But how does this blueprint actually work in practice? It's not just some checklist. It's a process,
a journey that unfolds over time.
You can really break the experience down into 3 phases. Before is all about the prep work, getting students ready, setting goals. During is the placement itself, with all the mentorship and scaffolded learning. But, and this is so key, it doesn't just end there. The after phase is just as critical. That's where all the reflection and feedback happens, and where you connect the dots between the experience and your future career. It's a full learning cycle.
You know what? Let's make this super concrete. Let's just zoom in on one specific standard from the blueprint to see how this works. Here's standard 1.7. It's all about feedback, and it basically says that for feedback to be effective, it has to be a two-way street.
So what does that look like in the real world? Well, here's a perfect example. At QUT, social work students don't just finish their placement and get a grade. They complete guided reflections with their supervisors. The university even provides a guide to help structure that conversation. That right there is a perfect illustration of how a standard on paper becomes a powerful learning tool in practice.
Okay, so after looking at this incredibly detailed blueprint, you might be asking the big question, why go to all this trouble? And the answer is pretty simple, because this structured approach creates a win-win-win situation for absolutely everyone involved.
Just look at the payoff. For students, it's a no-brainer. You gain real skills and real confidence, not just another line to put on your resume. For universities, they get to deliver consistently high-quality education and boost their graduate outcomes. And for employers, they get a direct pipeline of well-prepared talent that they've actually had a hand in shaping. Everybody wins.
So when you take a step back, what's the ultimate takeaway here? This is not just about fixing bad internships. This is about a fundamental shift in how we think about education itself. It's about moving toward a future where work and learning are one and the same.
And that leaves us with a final thought to chew on. As that line between the classroom and the workplace keeps getting blurrier, the real question isn't if we should integrate them. That's already happening. The question is, how do we guarantee that integration is high quality, equitable, and truly impactful for the next generation? A blueprint like this one might just be the answer.